Hey, hi, hello! My name's Danielle, and today I'm going to be tier ranking all of the TV shows and movies that I watched in 2023. And as a fun little addition, I've decided to name all of the tiers after Renee Rapp quotes, because she is another iconic thing that came out of 2023. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. You can turn on the notification bell to get notified every time I post a new video, and you can follow me on all social media links in the description down below. If you're into books, I've recently got into book talk, so go follow me there. This is going to be coming to you probably a little late, but I just thought of it. So I'm gonna do it. And I'm currently in the middle of editing a lot of epic tomes of videos, which are gonna be great, but they're taking me a while. So I wanted to just throw this one in there while you guys wait. Now, my criteria for these is gonna be if it's a TV show, I have to have seen everything that's out so far. So for instance, I have Outer Banks and Umbrella Academy on this list, which those are both still making new seasons, but I wanna talk about them here. So I'm going to. My channel, my rules. Plus, it's hard to know with TV shows. Sometimes they just make more seasons, so it's hard to tell. So I'm just going to include it if I've seen everything that's out so far this year. And if it's a movie, rewatches don't count. Otherwise, we would be here all day. And it probably goes without saying, but everything I say in this video about any of these TV shows and movies are solely my opinion. So don't take anything that I say about any of these to mean that I am objectively saying this is good and this is bad. Cool. You're allowed to disagree with me. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you do on some of these. Okay, so I have my list here. There are 52 movies and TV shows in the order that I watched them in 2023. And let's just go through the tiers real quick. As previously mentioned, these are all based on Renee Rapp quotes. I fucking love Renee Rapp, okay? I hopped the train just a little bit early, which I'm very proud of. I feel like I never do that with anybody, but I'm still so happy that the rest of the world is also catching up now as well and realizing how amazingly hilarious, insane, unhinged, talented, relatable she is. So in the bottom tier, I have I Meant Offense.
It's nice in this day and age for you not to like backpedal and say I meant no offense. You're just leaning in and being like.
Now, I am not a person that is super comfortable being mean, so I'm kind of hoping that this quote in this tier will encourage me to be okay with that. Because there are some things here where, yes, they were bad, and I mean offense when I say that. In the next tier up, we have Why Would I Do That to Me?
I always was like, I'm never getting married to anybody. I was always mommying somebody, and I'm like, why would I put my bank account with yours? Like, why would I do that to me?
And anything that goes in this tier is gonna be things that they weren't the worst thing I've ever seen, but I definitely would not watch it again, because why would I do that to me? Right? Right. In the middle tier here, we have, Delusion.
And what gave you the confidence?
Delusion.
I feel like this could go either way. It can either be like, I don't know what these filmmakers were thinking in making this movie and the things that they did, and they are delusional, or good for them. They made a movie, they're delusional, but they made a movie. You know what I mean? Kind of middle of the road, but could go either way in terms of how I mean it. The second to last tier I have here is ADHD. ADHD!
How did we pivot to motherhood?
Because
the way your mind works is fascinating.
ADHD. ADHD.
Because just the way she says it, it's filled with joy. And yes, there are some struggles that come with ADHD, but you can still have fun with it. So anything that is like that will go in there. And in the top tier, God tier, best movies or TV shows I saw in 2023 is gonna be Low Key. How did she do this? Beats me. We could really put any singing clip of hers here.
I'm so sorry, baby. I'm in the snow until I watch the world burn.
Because, yeah. Okay? Anything that absolutely blew me out of the water like that singing clip of hers did goes here. Put this on because I am freezing cold. Okay, so the very first thing that I watched in 2023 was Meet Cute, which is a rom-com that came out on Peacock starring Kaylee Cuoco and Pete Davidson. Honestly, there were so many bad reviews of this, and I think that's just because it was kind of advertised as a rom-com, but it was pretty dark, honestly, and it was dealing with some heavy subject matter. But I thought it was great. And aside from the fact that I am a sucker for anything to do with time travel or Groundhog Day, a lot of the back and forth between the two was great, and also the salon owner, and it was so heartfelt, and the ending I really liked too, so I really don't have any complaints here. It was by no means a perfect movie, but regardless, I'm gonna put it in ADHD. Next up, we have Paddington. This was a first-time watch for me, believe it or not, and I cried the entire time. I was so emotional during this movie. I was not expecting it to hit me this hard, but it hit me that hard. It's going in low key. It's going top tier, which is a little bit surprising to me, but I fully stand by that decision. And next up in 2023, I finished the Veronica Mars series. So we have the movie here, and then we also have the poster for the TV show here. Oh my god, I love Veronica Mars. I'm so sad that I missed it culturally when it first came out, but I was a little young for that. I'm so glad I picked it up now, though. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. Kristen Bell plays such a great Veronica Mars. She's so good at being this snarky, but also really smart and cool detective person. And Logan, I can't talk about Logan, okay? I can't. So anyway, the movie was sad. It wasn't good. So this one's gonna go in Why Would I Do That to Me? But the TV show is going in ADHD. One of my favorite TV shows. I want them to make more, but I can't get into it without spoiling it. So it's just gonna go there. Next up we have a movie that probably most people haven't heard of, but it's called Inheritance, starring Lily Collins, aka Emily in Paris herself, and Simon Pegg. This movie, though, was really bad. It was, and I mean offense when I say that. I fully mean offense. Basically, it's like this thriller that Lily Collins, and also starring Chase Crawford as her brother, but their dad dies, and the dad leaves to her a key that leads her to this underground basement where Simon Pegg is being held. And the dad did not tell her why, so she's kind of trying to figure that out. It was all over the place, and there was this really cool thing with key lime pie that I thought they could have done, that they did not do. They didn't bring it back full circle. They just brought it up once. Anyway, key lime pie. It was just so painful to watch. But that's okay, because next I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is going straight into the angelic tier. Low-key. It was so interesting how good this movie was based on premise alone. Because if you just take it at face value, seems like this would be a weird movie. But they did it so well, and also they had all these character development parts and these relationships that were so beautifully done. And I want to cry just thinking about it. And there were just so many cool elements to it. There aren't enough words in my pea brain to describe how good this movie is. Oh, now we're kind of getting into Oscar season a little bit here with all these. So next up we have Elvis, starring Austin Butler and Tom Hanks. The first hour or so I really liked. I think Austin Butler did a great job, although it pissed me off how much his facial structure did not match Elvis at all. I won't get into it, but Elvis's eyes are wide set, okay, and Austin Butler's are narrow set, and so it's the exact opposite of it's not important. It's not important. But it bothered the shit out of me. But otherwise, he did everything great. Everything that he could have, and his singing was also good. But this was too long. I think they focused too much on Tom Hanks' character, and they made it just like a straight villain story, and he's just evil. So it was kind of like, oh, so we're not doing nuance at all? No nuance whatsoever? Okay. This movie has to go in Why Would I Do That to Me, below the Veronica Mars movie. Next is The Umbrella Academy. I hopped on this train really late, but I am so glad I did. I had a lot of preconceived assumptions about what this would be, and it was not that. Another Groundhog Day situation and time travel. It's very quirky, but I think the comedy's played very well. I like everything I was gonna say I like everything that they're doing so far, but the end of this past season scares me for what's gonna happen next. But otherwise, this is going in low-key. Angelic. I love everything about this show. Robert Sheehan, I love you so much. I gotta relax. Next, we have Before Sunset. Oh my god, this movie. It was so good, I immediately put it into my Letterboxd top 4. If you want to go follow me on Letterboxd, you can. I'll link it below. I love movies like this, and not a whole lot happens. This takes place all in one day. The way that it was made and the way that it was shot and how parts of it were kind of improv or not fully scripted were fascinating to me. And I really like stuff like that. It is for sure also going in low-key angelic. Right now we have a very top-heavy section, but I promise you there's only a few in this category. I guess I just got lucky early in the year. Before we move on to the next one, a little while later I watched Before Sunset, which is the sequel to Before Sunrise. I haven't watched Before Midnight, the last one that was made yet. I got sidetracked and just completely forgot about it until now. But Before Sunset, it's gonna have to go in delusional in a fun way. They tried going for the same type of thing, but it was dealing with different parts of life that I wasn't personally as interested in. And also, I think the issue was that they tried going for the same exact thing as the first one, which you can't really do that twice successfully. But it still had the same air to it. Just wasn't my cup of tea. So it's gonna go in delusion. Banshees of Inisherin, I didn't like this movie at all. And to be fair, I think part of the reason was because I went into this movie not knowing that apparently it's supposed to be a satire on the Irish Revolution or something like that. So yeah, I think if I had gone into it knowing that, I would have understood it more. But more importantly, there were some disturbing things in this movie, and I would rather not watch that again. So this one's gonna go in why would I do that to me? Because I would never do that to myself again. Oh my god, next up we have The Chair, starring Sandra Oh. She gets put in charge of a failing English department at this prestigious university. And in general, this TV show was a very interesting commentary on cancel culture and morality and different things, but also it had a lot of great comedic moments. So it's gonna go in ADHD. Next we have a stand-up comedy special. It's Atsuko Okatsuka, The Intruder. She is hilarious. Her mannerisms and her movement style are what really got me because it just shocked me. I was not expecting that. And it brought something new to the table and I loved it. So it's going in ADHD, but also because it was a little ADHD. I actually want that to go here. Next up we have Poker Face, which was a limited series. I think it's limited, but it stars Natasha Lyonne, who I watched Russian Doll. Absolutely loved it. One of my new favorite TV shows of all time. And this one had an interesting concept. If you don't know, it's basically about this girl that can tell when people are lying. I didn't really like it that much. I feel like she wasn't able to shine as much as I've seen her before. Like her personality didn't really shine through that often. And I think it's because she didn't really have the opportunity to, I guess. Some of the plots I didn't care about and some of the actors. I didn't like that. I think I'm gonna put it in delusion. Just kind of middle of the road. Next up, we have Last Night in Soho. There were a lot of cool things that this movie did, and if you see the behind the scenes shot of how they did some of the dancing scenes, it's really cool. And I loved whoever that main actress was. I thought she did a killer job. I just feel like the twist wasn't that good of a twist. Also, this movie had a criminally small amount of Sam Claflin. He was in one scene, and I was like, you can't do that to me. How dare you? What was the point of that? It made me say, what? You got Sam Claflin, and you put him in one scene? So, for that reason, It's going in delusion because they were delusional for thinking they could do that to me. Next up, we have Please Don't Destroy's movie, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. If you don't know, Please Don't Destroy is like a comedy sketch trio that does skits on SNL. I got to see an early screening of this, so I haven't seen it since it came out. So they might have changed it since then, but from what I've seen, this was such a fun like treasure hunt movie. But I have to say, this was basically Without a Paddle. And I loved Without a Paddle. This was a little weirder than Without a Paddle, but I felt like a good amount of the jokes hit. Not all of them. And in general, this is like borderline ADHD delusion, but it's gotta go delusion for me, because there were just a couple things that didn't really work. The next movie, I don't know if I could talk about it without crying. It's called The Worst Person in the World, and it's a Norwegian film. This was up for a couple of Oscars, I believe. It was so tragically ironic. Like, there was irony, but it hurt. It hurt really bad. I'm gonna put it in ADHD. It wasn't a perfect movie, because there were some things where I was like, no. The mushroom scene and a couple other things, little things, but gosh, I love this movie. Next up, we have The Triangle of Sadness, another movie I watched during Oscars season. This movie was wild. I was not expecting it to be as crazy as it was. This movie also had a lot of irony and a lot of satire, and I think it played it very well. Let's put that in ADHD. I think it goes there. And I still cannot get the last scene out of my head with the club music when he's running through the forest. That was, yeah, iconic. Oh, this is such an interesting order that I watched these movies in, because the next one is The Whale, which I did not like. It's kind of confusing to me too, because I feel like Brendan Fraser did such a good job, and that Oscar nomination for him, well deserved, well earned. But I just didn't like the movie. I'm gonna put that in, why would I do that to me? Because I would not even care to watch it again. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Again, wild order of me watching these movies, because next we have All Quiet on the Western Front. This movie is gonna stay with me for a long time. I'm a pretty big fan of wartime movies or just straight action movies, so I've seen a good amount of them. But never have I ever seen a movie that depicts war in this way. It is the most realistic depiction I've ever seen. It's the first movie, this might sound a little dumb, but but it's the first war movie I've ever seen where I actively was scared. I was like, oh yeah, war is a bad thing. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but obviously I have never been in that type of situation. And I guess all the other movies I've seen have never depicted it so immersively. The sound editing, the cinematography, even the way they told the story had such a good, what's this word? Juxtaposition at one point. If you see it, you know what I'm talking about. The kid's like excited to go to war, and then he's just thrown into the middle of this. Oh, my favorite war movie of all time. I think, yeah. And the sound editing was a huge part, and the score too. Straight to low key, right? Oh, it might be ahead of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, I think it is. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that. The next, we have Tar. This is going straight in I Meant Offense. Below Inheritance. This was such a, I don't get it. It's such a bad movie. I think it just didn't have anything that was compelling about it. There was nothing that was fully developed or fully explored, I feel like. The conducting and orchestral aspect of it wasn't even interesting, so they didn't show enough of it. This one not only goes in this category because it was bad, but also because it made me angry. Moving on. Next up, we have Daisy Jones and the Six. This show starred Sam Claflin, as it should. The 70s atmosphere and music became my whole personality for a few months, and I have no regrets about that. I really liked the things depicted in this. Oh, Camilla has my heart. And also just so many good original songs that I still listen to. Oh, so great. This is going in ADHD. This is good. I think this is gonna go here. for now. Next up, we have another movie that I got to see an early screening of. This is A Million Miles Away, starring Michael Pena. This is based on a true story about this guy that grew up as an immigrant from Mexico, I want to say, and he was like a first-generation college student, and then he becomes an astronaut. Such an interesting role for Michael Pena to play, but I thought he did it so well. And also the person that plays his wife, she's been in other things too, I just can't remember her name, but she was also great, and their chemistry was really good too. A very moving story, very sweet, very inspirational. And this was an early preview, so they're showing this to people before it's like fully finished and tweaked. I haven't seen it again since, so I don't know if they did tweak it, but I don't think they needed to. This is a great movie. This is going also in ADHD. Next, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of the Guardians movies, but out of all three of them, I think this was my favorite. This was such a fun ride, but oh my god, I cried so much in this movie because there's a lot of Rocket backstory. It's sad. It hurts. And also there were a lot of fun jokes. It was still a little weird for me personally, but I did like it. This is going in ADHD as well. I really liked this. Next, we have another Netflix original movie called Far Away. This is, I believe it's in German, but the lady goes to Croatia, so there's also people speaking, is it Croatian? But basically it's kind of a rom-com, but centering a woman in her 40s. So it also kind of focuses on her finding herself again. I thought overall it was really nice, but there was a point where just like shit hit the fan and it was so wild and out there, and I was like, I could have done without that. And for that reason it's going in Delusion, which is kind of sad. It could have been ADHD if it had been done a little differently, but it was not. It's gonna go above Poker Face actually. Next up, probably one of my favorite movies of the year. This is The Gray Man, which I believe this is another Netflix original. Crazy. But it stars Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. I watched this on a plane ride home one time. I was not expecting much from it. I just thought it would be like all those typical Netflix movies that have been coming out that are like action and then they cast these big stars, but it's not that good. This was that good. I think it's mostly because of Ryan Gosling, but Chris Evans also knew what he was doing too. I truly was not expecting it to be this good, but it was really good. However, it does not meet the low-key angelic cut. So instead, it's just going to go in the top of ADHD. But I feel like it fits quite well there. I loved it. Oh my god. Oh no. Okay, next up we have Outer Banks. If you don't know, this is one of the shows I react to on my channel, so I'll link it here if you want to go check that out. But I was a little hesitant about putting it on this list because I have very different feelings about the first season and the second season and the third season. But I'm gonna try to keep it all as one. If I were rating just the third season, this would either be like bottom of Delusion or top of Why Would I Do That to Me, which is really sad because I love this show. But God, I just hope it gets, because I think the first and second seasons were my favorite, and I just hope we get back to that. Because part of the charm of this show is it's just teenagers doing some crazy stuff and having a good time sometimes. There can be serious aspects to that, but we also need that. And I think they forgot about that in the third season a little bit. Mostly because they were trying to focus on a lot of these relationships and treasure hunting aspects that I don't think were well. But I do love this show. So as a whole, I think it's gonna have to go top of Delusion for me. Which honestly I'm a little shocked by, but I think I'm pretty firm on that point. We might move it up later, but we'll see. Next I watched the third and final installment in the To All the Boys trilogy, Always and Forever Lara Jean, which for some reason I put off until this year, but I finally watched it, and it was pretty disappointing, honestly. I have read the books all the way through twice now, I think. And I really like the books. There was just so much changed in this movie. Not that I'm saying the third book in this series was a masterpiece, and if they had done it like that, it would have been such a great movie. But there's just so much changed that I think made certain characters look worse than they actually were in the books. I think it lost some of the magic the first two movies had. Yeah, I think too much was changed in this, and not for the better. And for that, even though it breaks my heart, it's going in the Why Would I Do That to Me category. It's so sad. Especially since it's the last one, so like it's not gonna get any better because that's it. Next up we have another show that I make reaction videos to, and that is Never Have I Ever, which finished this year. It's very much so like your typical teen comedy, 30-minute runtime, nothing too crazy going on. But it did explore a lot of interesting things. And overall, I just had such a fun time with it. I'm really sad it's over, unfortunately. And I think it had such great character development with the main character. So it's gonna go in ADHD. Where do I want it, though? Here we go. Yeah, that feels right to me. Next on the list here, we have Love at First Sight, which is another Netflix original rom-com movie based on a book called The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight, which is probably one of my favorite books. I liked it. It was short. It's all set in one day, which is fun. And it's about the statistical probability of these two people meeting at an airport because I think like one of them misses their flight or something, and then the statistical probability of it continuing on because of all these obstacles that happen. And this adaptation was really good too. I still don't think it was as good as the book, but I did like it. And Haley Sue Richardson, I believe that's her name, is just so warm and bright, and I love watching her. And I thought her and the other guy, which I don't know his name, but I've definitely seen him and stuff, thought they had great chemistry. Overall, just a really, really solid movie. I'm gonna put that in ADHD. It's gonna go above Never Have I Ever, honestly. I liked it. I liked it. Okay, next we have something that I definitely did not like. Oh god. This was Depp v. Heard, which is the documentary series based on the Depp versus Heard trial, which I watched a good amount of live while it was happening. But this was so bad. Ugh, it was just like a compilation of TikTok and YouTube commentaries and a bunch of stock footage, and the editing was terrible and it didn't have a point. I would rather watch the trial in its entirety than have to sit through that again. And I meant offense. So it's going down here. Next up we have The Bear, which if you don't know is one of my new favorite TV shows of all time. Oh, I love this show so much. It's so good. And this is another show that I will be reacting to. I have filmed the second season reaction, but I have not posted it yet. That's one of the videos I'm working on right now, and it's taken me a while. But if you want to go see more, I did do a reaction to the trailer, and I talked a little bit about the series in general and why I think it's so great. God, I love this show. It is nailing everything that it's doing right now, and I cannot wait to see what it does next. And for that reason, it goes to the top, the tippity top of this tier list. Oh, it's so good. Okay. Next up, we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I have conflicting feelings about it. But this one is interesting in the sense that it gave us more of an idea of multiverses and how they can come together. I will say it provided a lot more questions than it answered, which is an issue for me. But I thought it was pretty cool. The reason I didn't like it as much as I could have is because of Wanda. It basically reversed all the character development that we saw from WandaVision, and I didn't like how they played her character out, and I don't know what's going to happen next with her, and that it's just so disappointing. I think this one has to go in Why Would I Do That to Me? The top of it, but still. Oh. But don't worry, it gets worse. Because next up we have Ant-Man Quantumania, which frankly, my dear, goes straight into I Meant Offense. The top of I Meant Offense, but still, I do mean offense. I had heard all the criticism about how bad the CGI was in this, so I went into this movie knowing that was going to be bad. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. But everything else about it was also bad, which was an issue. There was nothing good about it. Now it's time for a lightning round, because next up we have all 6 of the Scream movies, which I saw for the first time this year. I saw Scream for the first time last year, but I'm just going to put it in this list so that we have all of them together, okay? So Scream, iconic. Kind of set the standard for a new type of horror movie, I would say. And it was a great time. Also, I loved Matthew Lillard in that movie. Scream 2, I thought was really good, actually. I know a lot of people did not like it, but I thought it played on fun tropes. It's still going to be less so than the first Scream. Scream 3, I really didn't like that much. It was the one in Hollywood, I think, where they're, like, making a movie version. I don't know. It was fine, but the killer was not fun. Not fun. Scream 4 was the one that was set in, like, the early 2010s, I want to say, and it had Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere, and it was kind of like this new digital age of oh my god, what do you call that villain? Like the masked killer or whatever? I don't know. Suddenly blanking. Scream. So it changed things in that sense, but I did not. The ending was so disappointing and stupid. So that's gonna go here. Scream 5 and Scream 6. Funny story about these. So A, I did not know that 6 Scream movies had already existed in their entirety. I went into this thinking there were only 5. And B, somehow when I got to the next movie, I suddenly apparently forgot how to read Roman numerals. So I saw this poster for Scream 5, and I thought they just remade the poster of the original Scream movie. So I thought this was the first Scream movie. So I was like, oh, I've already seen that. Don't need that. This must be the next one. I also didn't know that there existed 2 Scream movies with Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera. I got through 20 minutes of Scream 6 before I thought something was off. And then I realized my mistake and went back. However, having done that made me realize we didn't need this movie at all. I could have gone through that whole movie without having seen the one before it, and I would have been fine. There was a little bit of backstory that was, these two were connected, but they explained it in the 6th one. So you could skip the 5th one. And by the way, I recommend you do. This is the worst out of all of them. I hated this one, and how dare they think they could do that to us. I mean offense. However, Scream 6 blew my fucking mind. This had a totally different tone switch to it than all the other movies. It was a lot darker and a lot scarier, I think. The end was still a little, kind of the same as all the other ones, but I loved how they changed things up so differently here. I really liked it. So this one's going above Scream. I like this one the most out of all of them. Very disappointed about what happened with the 7th one, but we don't get into that. Next up, we have another documentary series. This is The Ringleader, telling the story behind the bling ring. That thing where these teens went around Beverly Hills and just broke into celebrities' houses and stole shit. Yeah, that. And it's about this girl that was involved in it and kind of started it. She kind of really stayed out of limelight, and she finally spoke up and told the story behind everything, which was very interesting to hear. I don't know if it provided a whole lot of new information, but I was still interested to hear from this person. And also, what point is this documentary trying to prove that she's a good person? Because I would say no. But, I support women's rights and women's wrongs, okay? But still, it's a little delusional of them to do this. Oof. I'm gonna cry if I talk about this show, okay? Next up, we have Loki, which, if you don't know, is another show I react to on my channel. You can go check it out here. This show was so good and so fun, and it played comedy so well. And oh my god, the characters, all the actors in it, all the writing. Loki is one of my new favorite Marvel characters. Possibly my favorite Marvel character. I don't know. Him and Tony Stark are battling it out in my head right now. Oh, but I love him. He was so well developed. And the ending is so... it's so beautiful, but so tragic and sad. But I get it. Low-key tier. Top tier. It's gonna go behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Loki's so powerful, and he's such a genius now. All right, now we're getting to our Christmas movie era, which was so fun. So first up, we have Holiday, which I absolutely hated. Offense meant, okay? However, after that, I watched Xmas, which was a new holiday movie that came out this year, starring Leighton Meester and Robbie Amell. This was a BuzzFeed Studios production movie, which, who knew that was a thing? Not me. But I feel like that says a lot about how good this movie was. No offense, but a little offense. It was fine. It was like your typical holiday romance movie. I thought they did a great job with it, and everyone that was playing their immediately family was so well cast. And if nothing else came out of this movie, I am so glad that I discovered the actress that plays his sister in this movie, because on Instagram, her Instagram is @VeronicaIsCool. She has this Reels series going on that I am so glad I found. It's like a little bit of improv, and it was at the beginning kind of leaning towards romance, but now I have no idea, but I'm still fully here for it. So go check that out. I think she's hilarious. She's a comedic genius. I hope she gets a lot more roles in the future. I want to see more of her so bad. But back to this movie. I had to talk about that. Overall, I think a lot of the comedy modes they tried with the immediate family worked. But everyone else was just, oh no. Why were they even there? So I think it's gonna go bottom of Delusion, because it was fine, but I could live without it, honestly. Next, I tried out Vanity Fair, starring Reese Witherspoon. This movie pisses me off because it had such a strong start, and then it just went balls to the wall, fucking wild. And for what? For what? And then what did it do? It just got worse. It just got worse. This movie, no. It makes me more mad than Tar did. So we're gonna put it, yeah, this was the worst movie I saw in all of 2020. Well, maybe not the worst movie, but I'm so mad about it because it had such a promising start. And then it just did so many stupid things. Also in 2023, I watched House of Lies. It stars Don Cheadle and Kristen Bell and Ben Schwartz. I believe it aired on Starz back in 2012-ish time, somewhere around there. There was some fun fourth wall breaking in it. I feel like they should have done it more, honestly, because they dropped it at some points and then just picked it back up all of a sudden. It didn't really make sense. But then also, every single one of their season finales, it was so cool how they did it because it would start at a certain time and show you a little bit, but then it would go back 24 hours before and then kind of count. But every single season finale was like that. And it was so cool, and I love that they kept that up. However, I did lose interest towards the end. So we're gonna put it in Delusion, but it was good for them type of delusion. You're delusional, and that's great. Next up, we have another Christmas movie that came out this year. This is Genie, starring Melissa McCarthy, who plays a genie that comes back and gives this guy a good Christmas. I don't know. It was bad. Don't watch it. It was not. Next up, we have The Family Switch, starring Jennifer Gardner and Ed Helms. This is basically a Freaky Friday situation where the dad and the son switch places, and then the mother and the daughter switch places. And it was pretty fun. The baby and the dog situation was too weird. It was not good. I don't know. There were a lot of weird things about, I would not want to. I completely just talked this movie down for myself. It's gonna go in why would I do that to me? Because I just thought to myself, would I ever watch this movie again? And the answer was no. So why would I do that to me? Let's put it here. No, why not? No, honestly, Veronica Mars was better than that. So was wait. Did I even like this movie at all? No, I did, because Jennifer Gardner and the daughter, they did each other so well. No, so did Ed Helms. Okay, top of why would I do that to me? I could live without it, but I enjoyed watching it while I did it. Oh my god. I can't wait to talk about this. Okay, next up we have Station 11. This show. This is a limited series on HBO Max that came out a couple years ago, and it's based on a book that I also read this past year. Oh, it's so good. It blew my mind. I loved everything about it. It's one of my new favorite books. And then I went and watched the show. And they changed so much to the point where some of the characters were not the same anymore. In the book, there was a main villain, and in the show, he wasn't really a villain anymore. They made pretty big structural changes. But I still fucking loved it so much. All of the actors nailed it. The writing was divine. And the score was so good. There was not an episode that went by where I did not bawl my eyes out. And I mean that literally. I cried in every fucking episode. Oh, it was so beautiful. This is my... Just thinking here. Yes, I believe we're right. This was my favorite thing I watched all of 2023. It's also a pretty historic moment for me to say I read a book and watched the adaptation and they changed so much, but I still love both of them so much. They changed it, but they still nailed it. I don't know how they did that. Mackenzie Davis, who's the star of the show, this woman right here, I think she's so good in everything she does. Another favorite show of mine is *Halt and Catch Fire*, which she was also in, and I loved her in that too. Is there anything else I want to say about this? Not that I can think of right now, but I do just want to keep talking about it. It was a masterpiece, honestly. Oh, I can't. I gotta move on. Just know. I loved this show. Okay. Next up we have Becoming Jane, which is an older romance movie starring Anne Hathaway playing Jane Austen. I don't know how true this story was, but I thought it was okay. I seem to remember it ending in a way that I didn't like, but I assume that was pretty close to real life, however dramatized they made it. But the biggest thing I remember about this movie is that I couldn't understand what they were saying most of the time. And it made me mad, honestly. So I'm gonna put this one in. Why would I do that to me? I mean, if you're really into romances, you might like this one. But personally, I have seen some movie adaptations of Jane Austen's books, and I liked those way better than this. Next up, we have Anyone But You, which is the new rom-com that came out this year starring Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney, and it's actually an adaptation of Much Ado About Nothing. So I am fully here for us bringing back these early 2000s rom-coms based on Shakespearean plays. Let's do it. Let's get more. This was so fun. I feel like a lot of the jokes were great. I really don't have any notes on this movie. I think it's gonna go here. All right, and last but not least, we have The Buccaneers. This is kind of one of those shows it's like an adaptation of classic novels, but with a modern twist. There was modern music. It was kind of like that new Dickinson show starring Haley Steinfeld. I don't think I'm a big fan of those shows, but it did have a pretty strong start for me, and I liked where it was going. And then the rest of it went in a way that I frankly did not like. But then it ended in a way that I really liked. But also there were things that were not fully explored that I feel like should have been. I don't know. I have conflicting feelings about this one. I'm gonna put it in delusion, because I am delusional because I cannot figure out how I feel about it. All right, and that is my tier list. Does this look right to me? Let's do some moving around real quick. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Veronica Mars needs to go at the top of this, obviously. That seems right. It still blows my mind that this is this high, but I loved it. Do I bump Outer Banks up? Yes, I'm bumping it up. I'm bumping it up. I have hope for the next season of the show, and I loved most of what was done so far. I'm gonna put this one at the top of this tier. And yeah, and then that last row, yep, that feels right. These three were the worst that I saw in 2023. So that is my finished tier list. These are all the movies and TV shows that I watched in 2023. Let me know down below if you have seen any of these. And let me know down below if you want me to do more of these tier ranking videos. I can come up with other things to tier rank. This was kind of fun. But otherwise, that is going to be it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for all the reactions coming up. There's some big ones. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!